Good morning, Germany. Good afternoon, India. And hello to everyone tuning into this special event. I'm Anant Tyagi, a presenter and commentator for Indian football and the Hero Indian Super League. And I will be your moderator for the day. But since this is a cross-continental affair, I will be joined by Pierre Windmuller, who's sitting about 7,000 kilometers away and 4.5 hours behind me. But we'll make sure that we're ahead of the game today in terms of understanding what brings us here today and what we can do to make the most of it. So over to you, my friend Pierre in Germany.
Ja, hallo auch aus Deutschland hier.
Well, warm welcome from Germany and a lot great wishes to India. So we would like to warmly welcome all those here in the chat, in Zoom, in Germany, and we look forward to the special event. But before we start, I want to say some house rules so that everything works fine technologically. Please all use your headphones in the Zoom call so that there are no environmental feedback or something like that. Please set your interpretation mode into English or German, depending on where you're located. Please mute your microphone regularly, and please raise your hands. This function, raise your hand, if you want to have a question. If the question is asked, what is very important here, please mention your medium, your name, and the person who the question is addressed. So back to Anand.
Thank you very much, Pierre, for apprising us of the house rules. Speaking of the house, our two special guests are now in the house, I believe. So without further ado, let me welcome Akshay Tandon, who I can see, president and co-owner of FC Goa, and Oliver Mintzlaff, CEO of RB Leipzig. I think you're both joining us on the call today. Welcome, everyone, to the beginning of not just an event, but also of a new era. Today, we usher in what we believe will be the benchmark for everyone in Indian football and the Bundesliga. Today, we see the coming together of two of the biggest names in Indian and German football in what promises to be a partnership that augurs a shift in the footballing landscape of both these countries. FC Goa and RB Leipzig have been definitive figures in the footballing landscape of India and Germany this past decade, defining and indeed redefining the beautiful game as we know it. The first 6 seasons of the Indian Super League have seen FC Goa embody the word flair on the football field. They played some really attacking and attractive brand of football, the most consistently successful side in the ISL. FC Goa is the only side to reach 5 playoffs, recorded more than 50 wins in the league, and scored more than 200 goals during a short span of time. It's only a brief history, but they've created some history already. Uniting and representing the passion of the football-crazy land of Goa, the club has been synonymous with excellence on the football pitch. The current holders of the ISL League Winners' Shield and the Hero Super Cup, FC Goa also became the first Indian team to qualify directly into the group stages of the AFC Champions League last season. No mean feat that. RB Leipzig, on the other hand, has become a household name, as you're all very well aware, not only in Germany, but the world of football. The Red Bulls, as they're fondly called, started off in the German 4th division in 2009, less than a dozen years ago, and within a span of 7 years, secured a place amongst the elite as far as German football is concerned in the Bundesliga. Astute scouting, player development, and an all-round vision for excellence in all facets have led them to carve a niche for themselves in the world arena. A team that is loved by their supporters and definitely respected by their opponents alike. RB Leipzig has become a regular fixture in the UEFA Champions League, and it was embodied by their 2019-20 campaign, which saw them reach the semi-finals of the continental competition for the very first time. Today, though, marks a landmark day as RB Leipzig and FC Goa are set to enter into a strategic cooperation. Now, during this period of collaboration, coaches from RB Leipzig's academy will be welcomed to Goan shores to impart knowledge via several workshops. FC Goa will also be sending their coaches and players from the club's youth setup for further training and learning the intricacies of the game at RB Leipzig's state-of-the-art youth academy. The partnership will also see both the clubs launch a nationwide soccer camp program. As you can see, youth development very much lies at the heart of this partnership and will be key to both clubs' philosophy. This landmark strategic partnership presents an opportunity to exchange ideas and make footballing knowledge more accessible to one and all across both nations. And now the bull and the gore, and this is my favorite bit here. Now the bull and the gore lock horns to stride together towards even more brighter days ahead. It is certainly even brighter when more than one person gets to talk. So that's all from me. But thank God I have company. So over to my friend Pierre back in Germany.
Ja, vielen lieben
Well,
Dank für die
thank you very, very much for those warm words from India. We could just give that back to you. But, well, there's nothing more beautiful than just to see pictures, just warm words in a video. This is what we are going to do in a second. But before we start, please switch to original sound so that you can enjoy it and enjoy the video now.
Football. It's called the beautiful game. Because no matter where you play, it puts a smile on your face. What if you could jump a bit higher? What if you could run a bit faster? And learn to think a bit smarter? What if you could shoot a bit better and get to learn from the best? What if all your dreams come true? This is why FC Goa and RB Leipzig are partnering up to share our know-how for the game.
Exactly, and just as we announced it, our CEO of RB Leipzig, Oliver Mintzlaff, sitting next to me. And well, the question to you, how did this cooperation come about? Well, hello to everyone here. Warm greetings and wishes to India. And Akshay, thank you very much for the great conversations we had and the cooperation that we will announce with this state today. And we look forward that the process that took quite a lot of time, because we've had very intense talks since 2018. Because if, as RB Leipzig, which actually has arrived in the German Bundesliga, that in the past season actually, well, was quite successful, that is very responsible and aware that we need to engage ourselves internationally, because we are the German Bundesliga, and the Bundesliga does not only take place in Germany, but internationally. And together with our global team, we discussed what could be a target market, what country could be an interesting country to us. So we have made many, many rounds, and we actually, well, landed with the FC Goa, and very early in the process, we found out that two clubs come together that have the same vision, same goals, that also have a similar understanding of football and soccer, and that are open to new topics. And those talks and conversations we've intensified from time to time led to the fact that we are here today, and we can proudly announce that the first step, or this is the first step of RB Leipzig into the international business. Of course, you may ask, well, why do they do it in those times with COVID-19? Well, actually, it's not only Germany that is affected. India is very severely affected. And you may ask, why do you launch this cooperation now? Well, for us, it was clear we need to start at one point. And if we can't start live, then, well, the cooperation will be started such that we, well, start in the off area, in the video area, and exchange knowledge there. And this is the first phase we didn't want to prolong and postpone. COVID-19 requires flexibility from all of us, but it also requires not having a standstill. So that the things that we have defined for us, that we try to find solutions. And the solution is that we said we start anyhow, even though it's probably not the start we wanted to have. Football takes place on the pitch, and of course in a very close personal interaction and commitment. But 2020, 2021, this may not be possible. So this is the reason why we decided that the first phase of this cooperation will be started online. And we do look forward, despite the situation we are all in, to any movement to the front. Thank you very much, Oliver, for the first information. And before we continue in Germany, I give back to you, to India, Anand.
Thanks, Pierre, and thank you, Oliver. I'm sure our special guest here in India will completely echo your sentiment over there. Extremely passionate about his role in growing the beautiful game, not just in Goa, but beyond and across India as well. Let me welcome the co-owner and president of FC Goa, Akshay Tandon. Akshay, over to you.
Thank you, Anand. Good morning to everyone in Germany. And good afternoon to everyone in India. Oliver, it's a pleasure to be seeing you. Unfortunately, we couldn't do this in person because of COVID. But I am delighted to have RB Leipzig as our partners. They have shown the world of football over the last decade how a complete transformation can happen, from 4th division to 1st division, and what they've achieved is absolutely astounding to the world of football. And we are grateful and sort of revel in this opportunity to be able to partner with them. We, like Oliver mentioned, we started talking 2 years ago. We have taken our time to figure out how we want to come together. Our goal at FC Goa has always been to develop Indian footballers and Goan footballers and Indian footballers. And we will see that as a success when Indian footballers can start playing at the highest level, not just in India, but also in Europe. And I think what this partnership means, what this cooperation means, is that we have the first step in being able to show a pathway for every young footballer to know how they can, get those dreams going and know exactly how they can use the FC Goa platform, now supported by RB Leipzig, to fulfill their dreams of becoming a global footballing superstar. We have a long way to go. This is the first step. And I'm very confident that we have the right partner in RB Leipzig. We are a huge fan of theirs, and we're looking forward to how this cooperation sort of gets going. Like Oliver mentioned, it's not ideal that we launch this during COVID times, but we have to find opportunities during these difficult times. And in a way, I'm also excited about the prospect that the digital launch of our cooperation will allow everyone in India and any aspiring young footballer to be able to join the efforts that we are starting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And, this partnership gives me belief that we're moving in the right direction, and hopefully in the coming years, soon we're going to start seeing some young footballers, hopefully playing in Germany as well.
Akshay, thank you so much for your thoughts over there. And that's what this is all about, sharing the know-how, sharing the love for the beautiful game. It's about aiming higher. It's about, running faster and achieving greater. But that's as far as the easy bit is concerned. Time to make life a little difficult for our two special guests, which means it's time to open this forum for questions now. Just a reminder, folks, that you need to state your name again clearly, please, and the name of your organization that you're representing. Who the question is for between Oliver and Akshay, preferably with your video on before our guests can answer it, just for transparency. Also, a gentle reminder, as Pierre had mentioned at the top of this conference, that the language interpretation option is available in the navigation bar. So unless you're fluent with German, unlike me, you can switch the language from German to English and keep the original audio on mute. Right, off we go. And our first question comes from Times of India, Marcus Magulao.
Yeah, hi Anand, Akshay, Oliver, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can.
Hi, I have a question. This is Marcus from the Times of India. I have a question for Akshay Tandon, please. Akshay, hi. Why RB Leipzig and not any other club? I remember the club has been, talking to several clubs. You have gone to Iceland. You have gone to Portugal. You have gone to several other places in Europe. Why did the club eventually decide on RB Leipzig?
Well, before owning a football club, personally, I have always been a fan of the Red Bull brand and what the Red Bull Group has done for the world of sports, not just in football, but any sport that they have entered. And, whether it's Formula One, whether it's football, they've taken the time, they've studied the sport, and they've come in and made an impact in a short time like nobody else has. It's been a extremely precise vision. Um, I can say that after having spoken to Oliver, his team, they know exactly what they're doing, and the amount of professionalism, the amount of clout, and the way in which they conduct business, and of course, all of this is ultimately about being able to technically provide the the knowledge and the support and the pathway that we need for building up Indian footballers for the global level. So unlike a lot of the other clubs that have a lot of history, perhaps 100 or 200 years, but that also comes with a lot of baggage. It also comes with a lot of, past. And we found that we weren't having to navigate through any of those things when we were dealing with Leipzig. It was a fairly smooth, professional, straightforward affair. And we feel like they're definitely the right partners for us.
Thanks, Akshay.
Thanks, Marcus.
Sure.
Yeah, Anand.
Anand, thank you very much to India, first of all. Thank you, Akshay. Are there any questions from Germany to the two protagonists? If so, please use the raise hand option. If not, as I see, then I'd ask a question to you, Oliver. So what role does the increasing and strong growing market in India play with regards to the Bundesliga? Well, as I said at the beginning, we dealt with several markets, and we also, together with the German Football Association, try to find out what could be the right way. And the Indian market is a very fast growing football market. And football is becoming more and more important there. And even though the Premier League is still ahead of the Bundesliga, and also the ISL is still before the Bundesliga, but we see that the interest in the German Bundesliga is growing. And this was a market to us that was more interesting to us than other markets. Then, of course, we had those such good conversations that were introduced by the Indian ambassador in Berlin. And those talks, actually, they led to the fact that we didn't only want to cooperate with anyone, but we wanted to have a cooperation partner that is open to our path, that has a similar understanding. And added to that, there were the good conversations, but also the feeling that India has a very good perspective, because now the cooperation is for the next 3 years. And we actually communicated with FC Goa and Akshay that we also want to have football camps. So we want to have also a market entrance that may also provide us other opportunities. And without having specific goals today, without having a business plan for 2024, because, we need to find out how the topics are received. So we think that for us as RB Leipzig, but also for the German Bundesliga, and every club actually needs to take responsibility, this is the right step for us. Anand, do you want to continue with your Indian colleagues? So we do just a back and forth, I'd say.
Yeah, thanks, Pierre. And interesting thoughts there from Oliver as well. Of course, youth development lies at the very heart of this strategic cooperation, like we mentioned earlier. And that point about the soccer camps being organized nationwide by both the clubs also poses an interesting challenge and an opportunity for a lot of youngsters. But over to the next gentleman, I think Bhargav from Hindustan Times is waiting patiently.
Yeah, hi, Anand. Thanks. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Yeah, okay. My question is, Akshay, how do you see this partnership? How different would you say is it from I mean, in the last few years, we have seen that many Indian clubs have partnered with some prominent football clubs from Europe. How different is this particular partnership from the other ones?
I think the biggest difference is the fact that, you know, most of the previous partnerships that have happened have been some sort of a licensing deal or another, where an Indian club or an Indian entity has usually licensed a global brand like RB Leipzig. We over here, both clubs are investing equally into a specific program which has a specific agenda of sort of mapping out and developing, you know, young Indian footballers through online camps and then eventually through offline camps. So, and it's also about extending each other's knowledge of how that pathway can be bettered for the future. And, you know, we've really taken our time to figure out exactly what it is that we want to be doing. And this is the first step in that. So, you know, we're thankful that we're not having conversations about how much we need to be paying for licensing a brand of another club or something like that. Whereas we're talking about having an equal partnership and cooperation where both parties are investing their resources, time and energy into helping the Indian young footballers grow.
Thank you.
Pierre, back over to you.
Ja, wir haben mittlerweile einige.
Well, yes, we actually have some raised hands. I think Thomas Kunze was the first that
Yeah, hi
raised his
everyone.
hands.
From Germany, ARD and MDR Radio. Question will be asked in German. Guten Morgen, Oliver. Ich hoffe, ihr versteht mich alle gut.
Well, then,
Oliver, in diesen Zeiten, in denen eigentlich jeder erstmal so ein bisschen mit sich selber zu tun hat, wie groß ist das Risiko, dass man sich möglicherweise trotzdem ein bisschen verhebt, weil das ja auch trotzdem Ressourcen kostet, so ein neues Projekt tatsächlich aus der Taufe zu heben? Und die Anschlussfrage wäre, beim gestrigen Treffen möglicherweise mit den anderen Bundesligisten, hattet ihr möglicherweise auch die Internationalisierung zum Thema, damit man auch die Fußball-Bundesliga in diesen Krisenzeiten über diesen Weg möglicherweise krisenfest gestalten kann.
Be crisis-proof with this measure. Well, what's the question to me? I didn't actually understand the first part, but I can actually get it together. So I just heard something fail that we not have the capacities. I think, well, it was not a shot from the hip, right? As I said before, what could be the first steps? And we've been talking since 2018. We actually made different phases with this corporation, also because of the reason that we don't overdo everything. And you know it from us in our club, we don't think we could just take 10 steps at once. What we do is we go step by step. And this is also valid for internationalization. And we have the feeling that now the time is right, that our club has the right size because we've arrived in the Bundesliga, and that also because that we showed that we can actually play internationally. And also because of the fact that in the last years, we've managed to grow knowledge. We've grown in our structures, sports structures, etc. And the corporation, just as Akshay said, it's not only about getting a license or something like that, or in turn that the FC Goa buys a license and that we just put our RB Leipzig logo somewhere else. We want to live this corporation and we want to start it right. And therefore we've made a map and a plan which is realistic to us, that works step by step. So we don't actually just want to use the holiday metropolis in Goa, because there we have more than 1.4 million people. So we have defined with Goa that we want to be present in many cities, but we have also set ourselves a plan which is realistic and can be realized realistically. So I think we deal and handle our resources very well, and that eventually it'll be a successful project at the end. And well, it will be just more successful if we can just put aside those Zoom calls and if the coaches and trainers can fly to India and have personal exchange. Nevertheless, that's what I said before, also due to COVID-19, we need to start somewhere and at some time. And of course, this will actually require even more resources because videos need to be produced. The entire topic will be prepared such within the next months that it makes sense to do online. And also to generate the output online that we would have just if we were in India. So we do not accept that this thing here, just online, is an easier step than just to fly to India. The second bit of your questions, well, yesterday, the result was that Karl-Heinz Rummenigge steps before the press, and I was there actually yesterday, and I can say that Karl-Heinz Rummenigge just repeated in full transparency the things that we talked about. What we didn't actually talk about was who actually enters which international corporation and also who takes over which responsibility for the Bundesliga on an international level. But what we did was that we put in front of our eyes, so to say, that the international TV revenues are also decreasing. Well, the reason for that is probably that the German Bundesliga loses attractiveness and appeal on an international level. And therefore, we need to, of course, transport this great product of the German Bundesliga to the world. So how can you do that? Well, not only by negotiating TV contracts. The product lives from what could be transported just locally and nationally. Well, FC Bayern and Borussia Dortmund that are actually criticized by the one or the other, they lived it, and they live it already. Also Schalke FC, they actually travel to Asia. And this is important. And every step that every club does and can do in order just to make this product of Bundesliga much more, well, public and transported to the world is an important step, because this gives us more importance. And if we become more important, the interest is raised, and the interest in turn will lead to the fact that the people in other countries watch Bundesliga just a bit more. And this, at the end of the day, is a success for everyone, including Mainz 05. Thank you, Oliver, for this, well, probably detour via this Bundesliga conference. Let's go back to India, and then we come back to Germany again.
Yeah, thanks again for that. And Oliver, great insight once again. I'll switch over to my Indian colleagues here. Anirudh Menon from ESPN next, please.
Hi, afternoon, Anand. Guten Morgen, Oliver, and afternoon, Akshay. So I just wanted to ask if this was merely a preliminary step in terms of your cooperation. Are there any plans for further investment in the Indian market for RB Leipzig and the RB group? And has FC Goa discussed that as well?
Is that a question for me or Oliver?
Both of you.
I can go first. I think it is important to take things one step at a time. We think it's really important for the two clubs to find rhythm and be able to work together in a consistent and a collaborative manner. The project and the next steps that we have sort of laid out for one another, I wouldn't call it preliminary, because we're putting a lot of work into making this a success online. We're going to be putting a lot of work into doing soccer camps on ground. It's going to be a lot of investment of resources, and the idea is to get the product and whatever it is that we are offering the kids around the country, something that they don't have the opportunity to get otherwise, and that's already there. So it has to be a better product. And so at this point, our conversations and our engagement is limited to making this project and this first step into as big a success as possible. And as that goes along and as we engage more as a club, I'm sure we'll do more and more things together in the future. Yeah.
Sorry, Anirudh, do you want Oliver to answer that as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very, very much. A lot actually has been mentioned by Akshay, and I share that idea because this is actually what we set out as a goal of our cooperation. And of course, what I mentioned as well, we also hope with this market entrance to India, try to receive probably more benefits, well, without knowing or having defined them yet. So we haven't put that into a defined business plan. The Indian market, nevertheless, is interesting to us. And with this early entrance into the market, and there are actually not many clubs, European clubs, that deal with the Indian market on such an intensity level. And I think we have a quite early and sustainable entrance. And with that one, we want to also leave footsteps which lead to much more than only to football camps. But the grassroots initiatives are the first step. So the work on the basis. And furthermore, we believe that we will become more and more known, that the cooperation with the FC Goa will be closer, and that also other opportunities will rise. And I'm very sure this will happen. And those opportunities may lead to more than only the two steps that we have defined. For once, the online camps and the real camps. Okay, Anand, so I think we just stay in Germany as we heard Oliver Mintzlaff. And the next question comes from Stefan Schönhoff of the MDR. Hello, Stefan Schöner, my name, German TV. Can you hear me? Yes, Oliver. So how can you imagine it with the German Football League? Do you just sit there and say, well, now you're actually, well, a sign, an important sign for Germany. Can't you just work on this and that market? Is there a department that takes care of it? And the last question is, so is your goal then to find good football players from those 1.4 billion people? Well, the German Football League, of course, has a certain internationalization department. They also support the clubs that want to transport the German Bundesliga abroad. And they, of course, well, support the clubs. And we have received a lot of support from the DFL, the German Football League. And we used the German Football League as a sparring partner. It's not a secret that we went to China, looked at several topics. And of course, we really much used the German Football League's knowledge, but not only the knowledge of the German Football Leagues, we also exchanged with other clubs that have international corporations. We talked to Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, Schalke. I talked to my colleague Werle of Cologne that have made positive but also negative experiences in China. So what we define for ourselves is what is the next step. And of course, what is also applicable to FC Goa is that you only know at the very end how successful the cooperation was. And what was important to us is that we found a club which is not far away from our DNA. And this is important if you want to enter a corporation, if you want to live it. And this is not the first step just by, having the CFO a revenue for the next year. This was not the goal of this corporation, not at all. The goal and the target was that we build something up. And you know it from every business. Well, in the first year, well, it is just seldomly the case. You can't just write black figures saying, well, that was the best business of my life. before every business, there is an investment phase, and we are just in this investment phase just right now. And this investment phase requires engagement, effort, but also energy. We believe, though, that this energy is right and important. May I ask a follow-up question? Well, Stefan, just one follow-up question, then we hand over back to India. Well, with regards to the structures, so what has the club now to do? So is there now a department for this internationalization, or what do you have to add with regards to structures? Well, as you know, there's a global division, global department, which is not located with RB Leipzig, but with Red Bull, the global soccer department it is called, as Red Bull has two other football clubs. So namely one in Brazil, close to Sao Paulo, Bragantino, and also in the MLS, Red Bull New York. And we as RB Leipzig could also, well, benefit from the know-how experience from those clubs and from this department. And especially in this case, we received a lot of support from them. And the operational process now, just after having signed the contracts and the cooperation, this is something which will be implemented with RB Leipzig. Anand, Akshay, back to you.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Pierre. Once again, yep, that statement about finding a club that's not too far away from the DNA of RB Leipzig will certainly stay with me. Over to my next Indian colleague, Mihir from Indian Express. Mihir.
Thanks, Anand, but Bhargav covered my question. So thank you for giving me the chance, and thank you, everyone.
No problem, Mihir. Thank you so much. I'll move to Gaurav from the Economic Times, if you're there. Gaurav from the Economic Times.
Yeah, thank you. My question has also been answered. Thanks a lot.
No problem, Gaurav. Thank you for your time. I'll move to Soumya Tiwari from the Mint. Soumya from Mint. Okay, I don't think I can find him on the call. Okay, I'll move to Akshay Sawai from Money Control. Akshay, over to you. Akshay, you there? Akshay Sawai from Money Control.
Yeah, hi. This is Akshay here. Yes, hi. Thanks.
Okay, so Akshay to Akshay then?
Yes. So two parts to the question. One is to seek clarity on the earlier question about the monetary aspect of it. So do I take it that as of now...
Anand, I can't hear him. I can only hear you.
Sorry, just one second. Akshay, he can't seem to... Akshay Tandon can't seem to hear Akshay Sawai. I'm just trying to sort the audio out. 1 second.
Because I have unmuted myself.
You could just relay the question.
I can relay it for you, Akshay, if the problem continues. If you can just give us your question nonetheless, I'll try and transfer it on to Akshay Tandon.
Okay, so do I say it or do I type it on chat?
No, just say it, please, so I can hear it.
Okay, so just to be clear, so as of now, there's no monetary aspect at all to the partnership. And two, was the lockdown anticipated and or was a different kind of rollout planned earlier before the world went into lockdown?
Akshay, did you hear that, or
no?
You want me to repeat it? Okay, he wants to know that there is no monetary aspect to this. He just wants a confirmation of that, and he was wondering if the lockdown was anticipated or was this rollout always planned this way?
Yeah. So there isn't a monetary aspect to this. He's right about that. And no, the rollout was not anticipated like this. In fact, we were scheduled to hold a pilot on ground soccer school in April, which obviously got completely cancelled. On the basis of that pilot program, we were going to continue and figure out the next steps of how to roll out the programs across the country. But since we couldn't do that because of the pandemic, we didn't want to be stuck. And, you know, we had the sense that in India, at least, we were probably not going to be able to roll out on-ground physical activities for a while. So we began very quickly to start working on an online program. Our sister concern, which is the Forza Goa Foundation, ran a couple of pilot programs on ground through WhatsApp and through Zooms and whatnot, from which we got the confidence and the know-how to know that, okay, we can do this. This is what worked, this is what didn't, and we knew what to fix. So, like, we took our time figuring that out, and we proposed the same kind of things as to how to go about it. Red Bull, with one of their sister clubs, I think in New York, had run a similar program, so they had some experience. We exchanged notes, and the progress sort of developed from there. And yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Akshay, I hope I framed that correctly. Thank you so much for your time. I'll move back to Pierre and Oliver in Germany.
Ja, vielen Dank an euch. Ich sehe, wir haben jetzt noch insgesamt...
Thank you very much. I see that we in total have 4 colleagues from Germany that have a question. So let's start with Tom Bachmann of the DPA, and please say who the question is addressed to. Well, good morning. The question goes to Oliver Mintzlaff. So in the background, you see both logos of the both clubs. The question is, for once, so will that be the case in the future as well? So can the logo be also seen in the arena, in the stadium? And what was the reason that you decided for the 3 years? So why not 5 years? Why not less? Why just 3 years? Well, the logo will not be, well, set up at the Gotthardweg, but we want to live this cooperation, and we also want to get it in understanding internally for it. And that's the reason why we also, you know, inform the entire employees in the next town hall meeting, but we won't do a certain branding. And with regards to the cooperation and the length of it, 3 years actually was a good time to achieve certain things. 1 year was not enough, 2 years didn't feel right. And we thought that 3 years is a very good time to build up those soccer camps on a very stable basis. And for us at the same time, it's also a market research, so to say, generate brand awareness as well, and also to let people interested in football in India that something like RB Leipzig exists. And of course, reach and range is an important topic. We want to use digital channels to promote this cooperation much more stronger also in India. And that's the reason why we thought 3 years is a very good time. And this does not exclude that we prolong this and extend this cooperation at an early stage. And well, of course, it also takes time that, for example, goals that you have set in certain phases cannot be reached. Well, we don't believe that, because we put a lot of enthusiasm and conviction and start into this project. And as I said, we've exchanged our thoughts and ideas since 2018. And I think you need to have a certain time spent to realize those goals. So 3 years is very good. So thank you, Oliver. Back to Anand. I think you have 2 or 3 Indian colleagues that want to ask a question.
More actually. I have about 8 more waiting in the list, but I'll go to number 8 for the day as far as India is concerned. Arun Janardhan from Mint. Arun, if you're with us. Arun, can you hear me? Are you with us? Okay, in that case, I'll move to Mr. Vijay Lokapalli from The Hindu. Vijay, sir, you have a question? Just waiting for my senior colleague here. Vijay Lokapalli from The Hindu? No? Okay, in that case, I'll move to Nikhil Bapat from PTI. Nikhil, your question, please, if you're with us. I hope it's not an audio or a communication issue, but I've not heard from Arun, Vijay, or Nikhil. So I'll move to Anselm from goal.com. Anselm, over to you.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hi. The question is for Oliver. I just wanted to confirm we'll be getting the English translation after the PC.
You can use the language interpretation option, Anselm, and you can switch to English. So whatever Oliver says, you'll hear that in English. Is that okay?
Oh, brilliant. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the question is to Oliver.
And Anant, I'm not able to hear him again, so you might have to relay his question to me.
Akshay, don't worry. That question is for Oliver. Oliver, can you hear him okay?
Frage habe ich nicht verstanden.
Well, I understand you, but I haven't understood the question.
Don't worry. The question's coming to you now. Anselm, over to you.
Okay. So what does Leipzig achieve from this partnership, and, what are the kind of aspects they're looking for in the Indian market?
Ja, was wir bekommen, habe ich
Well, what we receive, I try to highlight that. It's a certain market opening and research into a very interesting market. So we think that the topic of brand awareness is important to us. Digital reach plays an important role for our club. And what we want to do with our club, which is still young, but successful nationally and internationally, we want to transport it to the outside. And I think the platform with the FC Goa is the right approach. And those are the topics we have. And of course, we hope to get a better understanding of the football market in India, and also through those camps that we execute, to get more information that can be used for the football sports as such. And well, if we fly to India, then in phase 2, having those camps, what we will do is we will integrate our youth department, our scouting department, and try to find talents, and probably new corporations can be set up such that we also, I don't know, can get some players to Germany. But those are things you cannot plan. Those are things you have to make experiences. But this is one of many aspects why we want to go to India. Okay, thank you very much. So we'd have to finish slowly. We have a time slot till 10. So I suggest that we have 2 questions from Germany and from India. So 4 in total. So we start with Nikolai Stobbe here, where you can ask the question in German, and please also mention the addressee. Good morning, can you hear me? Yes, great. The question to Mr. Mintzlaff, Nico Stoller from the SCB. Well, Mr. Mintzlaff, Goa actually is, well, referred to in Germany with beach parties and sort of hippie attitude. So was that also a reason, or were the sports qualities actually the main points, the main reasons for you? Well, I'm actually satisfied, and I'm actually quite happy that the contact actually was established by the ambassador in Berlin. So if they had contacted us directly, well, or if we had set up the contact directly, of course, you may think that we only want to go to the beach, but that was not the case, as I said. And there were several trips and journeys from the FC Goa to Leipzig and also from our side to Goa. And we thought, well, this was a great recommendation from the ambassador. And actually, after those very good conversations, we said, well, after the first meeting, actually, we had a very good connection. And Akshay mentioned it already. They are a club that have the same vision, the same ideas. And yeah, we actually sat together and we said, let's intensify that. And if we can find a basis which feels very good to the both of us, and if you want to start a cooperation, then let's just do it. And the second part, the topic of sports and sports corporations, this is something, well, I don't want to say that we look into a crystal ball, but we assume that if you have a country where there's a lot of enthusiasm for football, where you have more than 1.4 billion people, there are, of course, great talents. And also great talents that may also play just amazingly in all the great leagues in the world and Europe. And of course, you always have in the back of your head that with this early market entrance, with this close cooperation with the FC Goa, you can get a much more clear picture of the talents that exist, that can be trained very early at an early stage and age. And in the US, for example, you have great enthusiasm as well, because when the young people go to college, then they're interested not in soccer anymore, but for the big four types of sports. But you still have great talents which are not promoted and fostered anymore. And then in turn, cannot become a world-class football player. And we are interested in what it is like in India, what is the training like, the education like, which talents can be found. And of course, what is important, that FC Goa is a very good exchange partner for know-how and experience. And this is also an aspect that was part and parcel of our decision and the decision for this time investment. Thank you, Oliver. We have 3 questions, 2 from Germany and 1 to India. So let's go back to Anand and Akshay. Let's wait for your great question.
Thank you very much, Pierre. I'm sure FC Goa can help Oliver look into that crystal ball over the next 3 years, which he said felt absolutely right in terms of the time frame. Running out of time here, so I'm going to rush to Vinay Sundar, who's been waiting patiently, as the last question from India, please.
Hi, thanks, Anand. So my question is for Akshay. So Akshay, my question specifically pertains to the fact that FC Goa, since the time you took over, have had a certain philosophy that is reflected in the football they play, as well as in the kind of culture at the club itself. What do you think is going to change to that with the addition of Leipzig as your strategic partners now? And where do you think it's going to go from where it is already?
Well, to be honest, I don't think anything is going to change as far as how we play, how our football is, and what our style is. What we admire about Leipzig and how they play is very much reflective in the approach we take on the pitch. You know, we like playing fast, attacking, possession-based football, and that's never going to change for us. What we have seen and the way in which Leipzig can improve that for us, I mean, we had an example several months ago where Clifford Miranda, who's now the assistant coach in the first team, was in Germany, in RB Leipzig, completing his pro license, obviously because of support from RB Leipzig. You know, where that's not the kind of experience you would see any aspiring Indian coach would be able to get, obviously without the support that we have from them. So, you know, it's things like that that were already kind of fluid and obvious and were happening without any contracts being signed, without any things moving forward. So you can see how, you know, we are already talking very similar languages and are willing to sort of support, obviously, their understanding of the Indian market, and they're willing to support our, you know, technical ambitions and whatever support we reach in that side. Yeah.
Thank you, Akshay. Pierre, back to you.
Okay, kommen wir zu den letzten
All right,
zwei.
let's get to the last two questions. Martin Henkel raised the hand. Please ask your question in Germany and also who the question is for. Martin Henkel, Middle German question, a question to Oliver Mintzlaff. Mr. Mintzlaff, so does the cooperation also affect other initiatives of the professional club? So probably, I don't know, do you travel for introducing yourself, because you talked about brand awareness and branding? And do you see an Indian professional player that may play in the German Bundesliga? Or do you know whether the German football players are so advanced that they can play already in Germany? Well, to answer the first bit of your question, Mr. Henkel, is that, of course, a cooperation, if you think it till the very end and if you continue to be more successful, part and parcel of it is that you incorporate all bits of the club. And of course, the professional team is always our flagship. And if we really want to get this market research in India, I do not exclude that we also get, probably in 3 years' time, not next year or in 2 years' time, we plan a trip to India. Because after having set out a very good basis, after having used the digital reach, we are sure that we can travel to India with the entire team, and should especially. And this is also part of the topic of internationalization, of taking over responsibility for the German Bundesliga. But it's also part and parcel of a functional and functioning business model. Global partner is a topic which is always in the back of your heads, and we consider ourselves as a club that has footpaths and footsteps that actually go further and beyond Saxony and beyond Germany. And this leads to the fact that we want to become more attractive to global partnerships. And I would not exclude the idea that we make a trip to India with the first team. But when this will happen and what extent this will be, this is actually too early to say. Of course, in theory, there have been certain ideas about that, but ask me in 1 year's time again, then I can tell you a bit more. And we can tell you a bit more how the cooperation started, how successful we are, and what the next steps will be. Then answering the second part of your question, well, it's also, you know, just trying to look into the crystal ball. Ralf Rangnick told me once, well, he will not experience that someone from India will become professional football player. Well, Ralf, he's much more the expert than me, but he doesn't know all 1.4 billion inhabitants. So that's the reason why we actually are very optimistic when we go to India. And as I said, there are surely talents, many talents that if they go through the right processes and if they get the right coaching in a certain period of time, I'm sure there are many talents that could be interesting for European clubs. Of course, bearing that in mind, we will have a look at this. And then at the end of the day, we see whether we can bring someone to Germany or not, or if we just have a successful cooperation without having a Indian player in with RB Leipzig. Thank you, Oliver. Hannes Jacobi, do you have a question regarding a Indian professional football player? Well, hello, Hannes Jacobi, Sky Germany. Question to Oliver Mintzlaff. Well, in the logo of the FC Goa, I think it's a water. So can it become a bull or what do you think? Can it be changed, this logo? Because now it's a water buffalo, right? Well, you have to ask Akshay the question whether he wants to change its logo. But whether your question is that we buy shares or become partner, well, you can become a partner without having shares and buying shares. And I can exclude, definitely, and I can say, and I don't talk about the responsible person for RB Leipzig, but as the responsible person for our global interests and intent. Well, there is a club in Brazil, in New York, etc. And from the Red Bull points of view, they have a great portfolio already, and they actually do not plan to get another club into their portfolio. Great, thank you very much. From Germany, we would like to thank every journalist, those from Germany and those from India, and we wish you a great weekend, well, almost weekend, today's Thursday, and have a great day and enjoy. So, do the Indian colleagues want to say goodbye, Anand, Akshay?
Yeah, sure. Just wanted to thank Pierre and thank Oliver once again. It's certainly been a memorable day and a partnership that promises many memorable days ahead for both German and Indian football. Grateful to Oliver and Akshay for sparing their valuable time today. A big thank you, of course, to all our German journalists and Indian journalists who joined us on this call. Here's hoping that you enjoyed it, and despite subtle suggestions of a change in logo, perhaps, like me, I'm just looking forward to the Bull and the Gore taking giant strides together towards a brighter footballing future for the Stars of tomorrow. Thank you. Have a great day and a very happy Diwali from all of us here in India in advance.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Oliver. Thank